What is up, guys? We are back. It's your boy Effie with Any Action Sportscast here to go over UFC Denver. Rose Namajunas versus Tracy Cortez. We're coming off a week with no UFC, so a lot of these money lines have had a lot of time to move, going up and down. Some of these money lines I disagree with big time, man. I think some of these favorites are crazy wide. And I'm expecting a lot of close fights, man. At first, we only had 8 fights on this card, but now the UFC has added a few late, noticed replacement fights, and it boosted the card for sure, man. I'm actually really excited for this card. The fans in Denver are in for some really good fights. I feel like a lot of these fights can be really close. So yeah, man, it's always good to have a week off. Enjoy your time off. We had Copa America, the Euro Cup, and soccer. Fun to be betting on stuff like that. But now we're back to the grind. We're back on our UFC stuff. So without any further ado, let's get right into the fights. And the first fight we'll be talking about tonight is a fight in the middleweight division between Josh Fremd and Ange Petroski. Fremd comes in with an 11-5 record, currently -110 on the money line, and Petroski comes in with a 10-4 record, currently -110 as well. We have a pick'em in this fight. Now, right away, Fremd will be the bigger, taller, longer guy. He is 6'4". He has a 4-inch height advantage over Petroski in this fight. He has a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight as well. He's also 3 years younger, so he's a younger guy, taller guy, longer guy in this fight. But I'm picking Ange Petroski to win this fight, and I'm picking him to win via submission in that second round. But the more I look at it, man, whichever fighter I'm picking in this fight, I feel like they're going to get a finish. So to me, my best angle for this fight is a fight not to go the distance. So we're in Denver, right? And it's going to be at altitude, and it's going to be affecting a lot of these guys' cardio. Well, that's a really bad sign for Petroski because he fades in his fights. His cardio is questionable in my opinion. And I'm not trying to be like a harsh on the guy or anything, but I feel like that's fair. I feel like it's fair to look at his round threes and the fights that go to round 3, and to see his output, man. If you look at that GM3 fight, I mean, both guys look gas in that fight, and Andre's striking is just not there. Even when he's fresh in the beginning of the fight, his striking is not the best, guys. He throws crazy wide shots, man. Ange Petroski throws everything into his shots. It's kind of funny watching him fight a GM3 where the commentators are saying, man, like, hey, man, take something off your punches, man. You don't have to go for the kill every single time. Just throw something short and right down the middle, and you'll be able to get Josh Fremd. And that's actually what he does later in that, GM3, and that's what he does in round 2. But, man, he throws so wide. It looks like he's, auditioning for power slap, man. His hooks are super telegraphed. After that first round against GM3 in their fight, around that Petroski won, the first thing that GM3's corner says to him is, you can see these punches coming, right? And he's like, yeah, duh. Like, yes, I can clearly see these punches coming. I mean, he's super wide. He telegraphs all of his shots, and he throws to knock you out, man, which, in my opinion, is not the best style of striking because he throws himself out of position all the time. But his grappling is really good, guys. I definitely give him the upside here in the grappling, and I feel like he's going to be able to get Josh Fremd down early in this fight, and I feel like he's going to be able to pass and then submit Fremd in this fight. But if he doesn't, man, round 3, if we get to round 3 in this fight, I mean, he's going to be a sitting duck for Josh Fremd, man. Josh Fremd, went to, a full 15, kind of had a war with Fluffy Hernandez, who's actually a really good grappler in his own right. And that was short notice for Josh Fremd. And I was actually surprised how fresh he looked in that third round. Yes, he lost the fight. Yes, he lost that round. But, I mean, he had Anthony Hernandez deep on some submissions in that fight. And if he puts Andre, in that same spot, man, I don't know if he's going to be able to get out. Ange Petroski, 10-4, all of his 4 losses are all knockouts. He has a 100% knockout loss rate. So, unless he's getting knocked out, he's not losing his fights. I definitely don't think that Josh Fremd's going to submit Ange Petroski in this fight. But I do think that he's going to get taken down by Ange Petroski, man. Josh Fremd was getting taken down by Jamie Pickett, man. That's bad. That's really, really bad. And he also gave up his back to Jamie Pickett. And that's still a huge red flag, guys. I mean, Jamie Pickett is nowhere near the grappler of Petroski. Yes, he's a big physical guy, but I mean, that's just a terrible, terrible look. So the way I'm looking at this fight is I'm giving the striking advantage to Josh Fremd. I don't think that's controversial. I feel like that's pretty well known at this point. And I'm giving him the output, advantage in this fight. I think he's going to throw more volume. And I think that for as long as he's on the feet, he's going to look like the better fighter. It's just the fact that Andre is going to be able to shoot on this guy, push him against the cage and get him down. And then from there, he's going to be in Andre's world. I'm actually surprised to see that this line's, is where it's at because I think that Ange Petroski should be a slight favorite. But I get it, man. We're at elevation. Petroski's, shown to have bad cardio in UFC fights that are not in elevation. So if he doesn't get out, Josh Fremd early in this fight, like he could be looking really bad and really vulnerable in that third round. But to me, with whichever angle I look at this, whether it be Ange finishing the fight early via submission or getting finished late in the fight because he's gassing out and Fremd's there, pushing the pace in his face. Either way, I feel like this fight doesn't go the distance. I feel like right away we're not going to be able to see, or not going to need the judges, I should say. And yeah, man, it comes down to, can Josh Fremd keep this guy off his hips, keep this guy at distance, and then pick him apart from there? Because, man, Andre throws so wide. Like I said, man, he throws wide like he's auditioning for power slap, man. It's insane. I really couldn't believe how wide his strikes are, and he just throws himself out of position too much. I feel like Josh Fremd, should be able to be the quicker guy on the striking here. He has a lot of good low kicks. He really likes to attack those calves of his opponents, but I just don't think it's going to be enough, man. I think he gets taken down and gets submitted by Ange Petroski. So I know he's a taller, longer, younger guy, but I'm going with Petroski in this fight. And I think he wins via submission in that second round. So, but my best angle, guys, I feel like someone's going to get finished, whether it be Andre getting finished in that third round or finishing the fight in those, first or second round. So give me Petroski via sub round 2. Can't be getting taken down and giving up your back to JB Pickett, guys. And up next is actually the first fight of the night. The reason I did that other fight first is because that was the first fight that I actually researched. But yeah, man, this is the second fight that I looked into, and it's actually now the first fight of the card. A really good fight, man. I'm kind of surprised that they're putting these guys to lead off the card, because I'm expecting a really close fight in this one. We have a bantamweight fight between Montel Jackson and DaMon Blackshear. Montel comes in as a favorite. He has a 13-2 record, currently minus 155 on the money line. He's fighting DaMon Blackshear, who comes in on short notice, who has a 14-6 record, currently plus 130 on the money line. And this should be an extremely close fight, guys. It's really tough to pay a little bit of juice here on Montel, but I am going to pick him to win this fight. I doubt I'm going to get to the window, but I do think that he wins this fight via decision or a third round finish here. I mean, I'll start with Montel. So Montel has crazy power, guys. Everyone knows, like, a kind of like a fun fact about him is he has the same glove size, same hand size as Francis Ngannou, which is absolutely insane, right? Cinder block hands, dude hits like insanely power, right? Something crazy like 10 knockdowns in the UFC so far. But I will say, man, he's not fighting the best level of competition, which, I mean, can't really hold it against him. But I also don't want to give him a ton of credit because the guys he's finishing, and putting down aren't the best. But man, he's a dangerous striker on the feet. And he's definitely going to have to worry about the wrestling here from DaMon Blackshear. DaMon Blackshear comes into this fight looking to grapple, looking to take the back of Montel Jackson. And I just don't think that he's going to be able to multiple times in this fight. I feel like maybe he does get Montel down once or twice and is able to hold position and accumulate some top control. But I just don't think that he's going to submit or get that back of Montel Jackson. And on the feet, I do worry that the threat of the takedown, the threat of the grappling from Blackshear will limit the output of Montel. I really hope that he doesn't really overthink the threat here of the wrestling and limit his volume, because I feel like Montel will land the more significant strikes and really hurt DaMon Blackshear. It's one of those things where DaMon Blackshear could be throwing out volume, winning on points, mixing in some takedowns, but then Montel could just clip him 1 or 2 times in the round and really shift the projection of the fight, right? So, I mean, guys, Montel has serious power for the division. Both guys are relatively big, both 5'10" bantamweights, kind of big in my opinion for that weight class. And obviously DaMon Blackshear is coming in on short notice, fighting at elevation. But DaMon Blackshear, has proven to be a good fighter in the UFC on short notice as well, man. He's coming off, even his last fight against Mario Batista came in on short notice and had a good showing for himself. That was probably the best fighter he's fought so far in the UFC, and he did well. So, he's coming in on short notice, and it's just his grapple heavy gameplay, man. He's gonna want to grapple and clinch up with Montel, take the back however way he needs to. And I just don't think that's gonna happen. I feel like it does go all 15 minutes here, or Montel wins this fight, third round finish, later on in the fight. I wouldn't be shocked if he knocks out Blackshear here in this fight, but it's going to be close, man. I really respect DaMon Blackshear's grappling and just overall his skill set as a fighter. So it really is tough to get behind Montel here, even though I do think that he's going to land the bigger, heavier shots. A really close fight, guys. I actually thought the line was going to be a little bit closer. Kind of surprised to see Montel at minus 155, but I get it, man. He just hits so hard, man. It's just one of those things where if I'm betting on Blackshear and he's looking good the whole time, I'm still going to be worried. I'm still going to have my heart racing. Still going to be thinking like, oh man, please don't get clipped. Please don't get cracked here in these extended striking, exchanges. So yeah, man, I'm going with Blackshear decision here in this fight, but I would not be shocked I'm going with Jackson decision in this fight, but I would not be shocked if Blackshear squeaks out a decision here via, takedowns and control time. But I just don't think that the judges are going to value that too much unless he's like dominating the round. Give me Montel Jackson via decision. Should be a banger of a fight. I have really no idea why that's the first fight of the night. And up next is my first hot take, guys. You guys are going to kill me in the comments for this one. I'm standing on business, guys. We have a women's flyweight fight between Luana Santos and Mariya Agapova. Luana Santos comes in with a 7-1 record, currently minus 390 on the money line. And she's fighting Mariya Agapova, who comes in with a 10-4 record, currently plus 290 on the money line. So everyone knows what's up in this fight. Huge grappling discrepancy in this fight. Mariya Agapova, and she gets taken down. She loses the fight, right? So she's had 5 UFC level fights, whether it be contender series or in the UFC, or maybe actually 6, I believe. And every single time she gets taken down, she loses, man. She has a 100% losing rate in every fight that she gets taken down. If you take her down one time, statistically, you have won the fight. Like, it's kind of insane. But if you don't take her down, statistically, you've lost both times. So she's 2-3 in the UFC, and both times she won, she didn't get taken down. So it just, floor is lava. Floor is lava for Mariya Agapova here. You cannot get taken down. And if you get put in the clinch here, that's worrisome as well, because if Luana Santos is able to push Agapova into the clinch, along the warning track, along the cage, she has really good judo. Luana Santos has a really good judo background, and she can hip toss you into next week. So that's what she's going to want to do. I don't think that Luana Santos has the wrestling here to shoot on Agapova here and get to the hips and take her down, whether it be a double leg, single leg, or whatever. I think her takedowns are going to be from judo throws, judo trips along the cage, which is definitely possible in my opinion. But, man, Agapova is the better striker here in this fight. Luana Santos, to me, is not a good striker. Yes, she knocked out Julian Miller on her feet, but Julian Miller is pound for pound top 5 worst fighters on the UFC roster, whether it be women's or men's. Like, she's horrible. Julian Miller is horrible, and Santos, worked her, and she treated her as slush, man. She just walked right through her, and Miller had no answer for that. So, yeah, I mean, she won the fight, and she got a finish, but to me, I'm not impressed, man. Julian Miller stinks, and before that, she fought Stephanie Egger. So that's where I really, started seeing the red flag. So she came in against Stephanie Egger, and she looked fat, dude. She looked so fat, out of shape. It was crazy, right? And she won the fight. She wins through all 3 rounds. She really didn't have any sort of, resistance from Stephanie Egger. But I will say, in that fight, Stephanie Egger defends, for one, the first judo throw that Luana Santos goes for. She's able to successfully defend it. Eventually does get thrown on her head. But there's times in that fight, guys, where Luana Santos does what she wants. She wants to grab you. She wants to get the overhook and underhook and throw you to the ground. But twice it happens where she gets that. She does it successfully. But then either Egger gets up right away, or even worse, she gets to the back of Santos. Man, you cannot be throwing people on the ground and then somehow ending up with them on your back. How does this happen? Like, that's not good. That's not, good to me, to see visually, because everyone's, talking about how, as soon as Agapova gets taken down in this fight, Santos is going to be able to just maul her. Great BJJ, great ground pound, blah, blah, blah. I don't see it, guys. I just do not see it. I don't see her getting worked here by Luana Santos. Go watch Agapova's last fight against Julian Robertson. Julian Robertson's a very good grappler as well. Julian Robertson shoots in for the takedown. Agapova is dropping elbows from hell, man. She's active. Boom, boom, boom. Reminds me of Curtis Blades versus Jailton Almeida. And I actually don't know how Julian Robertson didn't get knocked out by those elbows. A different ref, might have stopped that fight. Like, if there was a crowd, who knows? But I mean, I'm not saying she was out or anything, but I'm just saying, that was a very bad visual for Robertson. And she made it to round 2, and then obviously got submitted in that round. But guys, she didn't tap. Agapova did not tap to Julian Robertson. She went out on her shield. Jesus didn't tap, and neither did Agapova. But I will say, guys, there are just so many red flags here for Agapova. I don't know why people don't want to bring it up. Like, I'm watching my friends break down fights, and I'm like, why? Like, who cares? I'll say it. Like, dude, she's talking about how she's homeless. She has, getting kicked out of the gyms, using drugs, doing tattoos for money. And the big red flag to me is, she took a karate combat grappling match against a 17-year-old phenom from John Danaher's gym, the Danaher Death Squad. And the girl she fought, the girl she had that match with, is a straight-up phenom, guys. She's probably going to win ADCC here in next month. And she got heel hooked in about 30 seconds, right? So the 17-year-old goes in there, submits a UFC fighter in 13 seconds, and everyone's like, oh my God, what a bad look. getting submitted by a little kid in 30 seconds, no less, less than a minute. But guys, the girl she did that to, did it against, she's a beast, bro. That 17-year-old would submit a ton of fighters on the UFC roster. And I will say, man, Agapova goes immediately to Instagram, and she's smiling and happy, and she's like, I got paid, I don't need to worry about money now. I can get a room, get some rent or whatever. But yeah, that's a red flag for sure. But she even mentions in the post how the heel hook was tight, right? So the lock's in, it's tight. All the girl has to do is crank it, and it's gonna snap. And Agapova taps immediately, right? She didn't resist. She didn't have to try to defend. She actually went for herself for a heel hook earlier in that match, but she said she tapped so early because she didn't want to risk getting injured and then being out of UFC competition for even longer, for not having money for even longer. So to her, she was like, yeah, I was able to compete a little bit, got in there with a good phenom and got tapped out, sure. But now she has money. Now she obviously had a training camp for this fight. And man, I just don't see this fight as soon as Santos gets her down, she's gonna maul her and win the fight and submit her, and it's gonna be over. Open and shut case. I don't see it. I see Mariya Agapova giving Santos a little bit of business here on the feet and making it hard for her to clinch up, making it hard for her to take her down. And I'm picking her to win this fight, man. I have a half unit on Agapova, and for me, guys, my units are $40, so it's only $20. It's not crazy large money or anything I'm throwing around. But if your units are $1,000, I wouldn't be throwing $500 on Agapova. I'll say that. But I mean, guys, I definitely do not see how Santos is minus 400 in this fight. I don't see it. Like, I get it to elevation. Both Agapova and Santos can tire. And I actually think that for as much as you can criticize Agapova for not winning a fight in 3 years, for gassing out against Mariya every time she gets taken down, I mean, Santos looked horrible in that third round against Stephanie Egger. Her striking is so slow. Man, I can go on and on about this for days, man. Give me Agapova via decision to win that fight. I'm actually on her money line for a half unit. So I got to go on a limb, man. It's just one of those things where I see the line and I think it's off, so I'm laying a small bet there. So give me Agapova to win that fight. Let me know what you think in the comments, man. I know I'm going to hear about that one. Up next, we have a banger of a fight, man. This card is actually like not bad. Like, there are a lot of good fights on this card. This is one of them. But again, one of the money lines I disagree with. So we have a flyweight fight between Joshua Van and Charles Johnson. Joshua Van comes in with a 10-1 record, and for some reason on my screen, ESPN doesn't show the odds, but he is currently minus 200, a 2-1 favorite here over Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson on the right side of your screen comes in with a 15-6 record, and he's around plus 170, I want to say, plus 175. Like I said, the odds aren't on the screen. They're not on the screen for the next one either, but yeah, man, another short notice fight. I don't want to say it's a short notice because both guys were asking for fights, trying to get fights from the UFC. Both of them have like opponents pulling out recently. So yeah, the fight was made kind of last minute to boost this card, but they're both like in the gym, in shape, I want to say, at least believe. And for Joshua Van, man, the young, stud here, to be the 2-1 favorite, I feel like that's a little bit of, a disrespectful line to Charles Johnson, because I think that Charles Johnson has a perceived grappling advantage in this fight. If this is a 15-minute striking fight, sure, Joshua Van probably should be the favorite, probably should win this fight, probably should win a decision or finish Charles Johnson late in this fight. But the first thing I noticed about this fight being made is that, well, who is going to win round one? Because both these guys have horrible habits of pulling Peter Yan and Chito Veras, where they just lose the first round. They don't do anything. They don't throw a lot of output. More so Johnson than Van. Van at least tries, but Johnson just doesn't do anything. He just throws one punch, one kick, circles, one punch, one kick, circles, and then just doesn't do much. Whereas Joshua Van, he does go forward. But to me, Joshua Van is a little bit small for this weight class. He's going to be 4 inches smaller than Charles Johnson in this fight. He's going to have a 5-inch reach disadvantage in this fight. And Charles Johnson has way more high-level experience than Joshua Van. Joshua Van's 22 years old, guys, and he's cooking dudes in the UFC. And what I really like about Joshua Van's striking, I mean, he is crisp, guys. He is very sharp, very quick to the punch, and he works the body, man. He kills the body, and I love to see that. I guess one of my favorite things in the entire UFC, entire boxing, MMA, whatever you want to say, in combat sports, to be able to hook someone in the body, man, I love it. I just love it. Chris Curtis does it a lot too as well. And Joshua Van seems to be a high IQ fighter. He knows what he's doing in there. Very good footwork and very good striking. It's just at the grappling, man. We've seen him held down. We've seen him lose minutes, on the ground off his back. And I just feel like with Charles Johnson, level changes on this guy, he's gonna be able to put him down. We're at elevation, so I'm kind of interested to see how it's going to affect both guys. But I mean, I gotta say, for as much as I'm talking about Charles Johnson's wrestling, I mean, he doesn't really do that. He doesn't really shown to implement that wrestling heavy game plan, where I think he's going to entertain Joshua Van, man. For the most part, Charles Johnson is actually kind of funny, has been matched up with a ton of wrestlers throughout his UFC run. Kind of weird if you look at his list of fights that he's fought. For some reason, they just match him up with a bunch of wrestlers. And this is the first fight where he will not have that. He will have a guy that wants to strike, wants to bang, and he's going to give him a striking fight. So I think Joshua Van is a better striker in this fight. I think he's more dangerous on the feet in this fight. He has more volume in this fight. He's going to have more output, look better for the judges in this fight. But Charles Johnson does have that grappling advantage, man. I do worry that if he's able to duck under, get to the hips, lock his hands on Van, he's not going to let go, man. This is a close one, man. I will say, first things first, I disagree with minus 200, right? I'm picking Joshua Van, and I would not be shocked if Charles Johnson wins this fight via decision. But I think that Van is ascending in the UFC. He's still super young, which worries me. But I do think he does enough to win this fight. I don't know if he does enough to cover that minus 200 price tag, but give me Joshua Van to win that fight via decision. Man, I feel like I'm talking like a mile an hour right now. I remember one time, someone was like, dude, you need to stop doing so much cocaine before you record. And I was like, oh, geez, how do I talk that fast? But yeah, man, so up next, another interesting fight, guys. Another short notice type weird deal going on. We have a women's flyweight fight between Jasmine Jasudavicius and Fatima Kline. Jasmine comes in with a 10-3 record. Again, no odds on the screen for some reason, but she's the underdog currently, surprisingly, around plus 110, plus 115. Whereas Fatima Kline comes in undefeated prospect, making her UFC debut, which is why she doesn't have a picture on the screen right there. Undefeated 6-0, right? And she's around minus, I want to say like 150, or maybe even higher at this point. So first things first, Fatima Kline's making her debut. When this fight gets booked, she opens up as an underdog, right? Plus 200 underdog. And just a pile of money comes in, a flood of money comes in on Fatima Kline. Everyone betting her, right? Going big on her, betting her to the limit at the time. and pushing her to a favorite now. So we have a fighter who's never fought in the UFC, never won a fight in the UFC, fighting a girl who has a ton of UFC experience. Well, not a ton, but like, you know, a good amount of UFC experience at a high level, and, you know, is an underdog now. And another thing that's a kind of a weird, interesting fact to me is that Fatima Kline is going up a weight class on short notice at elevation, and she's a favorite. And so before I did any study, before I was like, all right, who is this person? That stood out to me, right? So I was like, okay, like people out there definitely think that she's good. Like, what do we have here? So I dive into the tape, and guys, like, what are we doing? Slow down, relax. She's beating horrible fighters. She's beating like straight ladies off the street. I'll start with what I don't like. Or sorry, no, I'll start with what I do like from Fatima Kline. I like her striking. I like her ability to fight out of both stances. I like her ability to mix in the kicks and her punches. She throws in combination, and she is crisp. She knows where she's throwing her strikes. She's able to split the guard of her opponents very well, and she's active, man. She's pushing forward. I've seen her get pressed a few times, and she's totally calm. And she doesn't overexert herself as much as like someone like Ange Petroski, but she does. She throws herself out of position, and she uses her switch stance to get back. And so her striking is really good, but then her grappling is also really good as well. It's actually kind of funny to hear the commentators talk about her style, because it seems like she was a grappler coming up, right? A black belt in jiu-jitsu. I've seen her grapple on Fury FC, and she's competent. She's a black belt. She knows what she's doing. But and then here we go with the bad stuff. Like, for some reason, guys, she just doesn't have any finishing ability. Like, she fought a chubby 5-3 lady off the street who's on like 3 days notice, replacing her teammate to fight Fatima Kline in a title fight on the regional scene. And even in that fight, the random lady off the street made it to the third round, and I was kind of shocked. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, Fatima Kline, in every single round that I've seen her fight, she's won that round. She has never had any resistance at all so far in her pro career, which on one hand, I'm like, dude, credit to her. She's a beast, a great prospect. And on the other hand, I'm like, dude, she's fighting straight bums. And even in that fight, she didn't finish that girl until late in that third round. And even the broadcasters, man, John Mogren, you know, is talking about how, like, man, like, she should probably get a finish here because the UFC, you know, really wants to see people finish fights. And yeah, I get it, she's dominating the fight, but we should probably need to see a finish here. And sure enough, she pounds her out. I mean, guys, Fatima Kline had her back mounted, had her flat out, was in mount, full mount, and still couldn't finish the fight. It was crazy. Like, I was really shocked. And then after that, her most recent fight, she fought a short Brazilian girl, super stocky. And all these fighters she's fighting are super small. Like, the one thing that's very noticeable, like, she's either the same height or a little bit bigger than all of her fighters, and she's small in her own right. And even in that jiu-jitsu match that I watched her in, she had an armbar locked in tight and still couldn't finish it. I'm like, bro, like, what are we doing? Like, how is she the favorite? Like, what are we doing? Let's flip on to the other side. We have Jasmine, who, you know, is coming off a loss against Tracy Cortez, who's fighting in the co-main event against Namjunas, who's like, this is like I don't want to say a step down competition, but like, whoa, like, what are we doing? Like, Tracy's good. Like, Tracy's really good. Tracy's well-rounded. She can wrestle. She can strike. We saw that in a fight. It was a 1-1 fight going into round 3. Jasmine lost. I was at that fight. But Jasmine's big. One thing I really like about her is her size, her physicality, and that goes a long way in women's MMA. One thing I really think is going to happen in this fight is the clinch will happen. They will clinch up in this fight, whether it be Fatima initiating it, which I will say she does a good job of landing damage in the clinch. She's not one of those fighters that just holds and tries to, like, mix in some thigh knees, and it was just super annoying to watch. So she's working. She's throwing these elbows, throwing uppercuts. I mean, she's working in the clinch. She's trying to roast you. Whereas I think Jasmine's big enough, physical enough to reverse position and even get Fatima Kline down. I feel like if Jasmine Jasudavicius gets Fatima Kline down, Fatima's going to try to shoot up subs. She's going to try to shoot up a triangle, an armbar, something like that. And I just feel like Jasmine has good enough grappling to not get caught in something like that. I know it's more common in women's MMA for submissions off their back to happen, but I just don't think it's going to happen, man. I'm on Jasmine here. I haven't bet it yet. I'm going to look and shop around for the best line I can get. But I think if she wins this fight on the feet, Fatima is going to have probably more output, better speed, but she's going to be smaller with no power. And on the if she wants to, you know, take it to her realm and grapple, I don't think that's a good idea. I think Jasmine has the size, has the power, has the experience, and has the grappling to nullify that. So, man, Fatima's going to need to strike for 15 minutes to win this fight, in my opinion. She's on short notice, up a weight class, at elevation. Give me Jasmine Jasudavicius to win that fight as an underdog. Oh, and I definitely don't need to spend as much time on this next one. We have a middleweight fight starting the main card off between Abdul Razak Al-Hassan and Cody Brundage. Abdul Razak Al-Hassan comes in as the favorite at minus 150. Cody Brundage comes in as an underdog at minus 125. So the thing with this fight is I'm going with Abdul Razak Al-Hassan. I think he's going to knock out Cody Brundage. But on, like, if you want to make a case for Cody here, it's obviously the grappling, right? He's going to be able to level change and take down Abdul, you would think. And from there, you know, try to work him, drain Abdul of his gas. Abdul is a guy that has shown, you know, in the Apex, at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, not at elevation, to have back cardio to taper off in round 3. It's kind of crazy to see him fight walking Buckley the way he has, or the way he did, and then now seeing where Buckley is in his career, whereas Abdul, you seems to be teetering off. He's coming off a fight against Joe Pfeiffer, where I mean, go to Joe Pfeiffer to Cody Brundage. That's a big step down. So that does favor Abdul. But yeah, Cody Brundage, in my opinion, would theoretically need to wrestle to win this fight. If he strikes at range for 15 minutes here with Abdul, he's gonna get slept, man. Like Abdul, I'll be honest, he doesn't have the best striking. It's not as fundamental as you would like, but holy moly, does this guy crack. This guy absolutely cracks, has crazy power, has insane thighs, man. This guy can squat like 500 pounds, probably deadlift like 700. His thighs are enormous. Those crazy powerful leg kicks, right? But his hands are powerful as well. He seems to be okay with taking damage, walking forward through it. Yeah, man, this should be someone's gonna get served. Someone's getting served in this fight. I'm going with Abdul to serve Cody here. I think Cody gets slept. And man, I don't want to sound like a Cody hater. I'm actually one of his biggest supporters, man. I actually was dying on my hill talking about how he's gonna give Bo Nickel a good fight and that he wasn't gonna get just killed in that first round, which is exactly what happened. He made it to round 2 and then got submitted. But yeah, man, like Cody is not like a complete bum, right? Like, to me, he has more of a fight IQ like issue. Like he's jumping guillotine on ADCC medalist Rodolfo Vieira. He's jumping guillotine on Gore, on all these guys. Like it's just not a good look. Like jumping guillotine, that's a low percentage move, man. Like you shouldn't be doing it. His guillotine's not even that good. But man, yeah, it's just one of those things where I mean, I wouldn't be shocked to see him pull guillotine and then actually reverse position and get on top of Abdul. So I don't know, man. Abdul, big physical guy. He is 38 years old, guys. That's another red flag here for sure. And he also has suspect cardio when we're in Denver. So Cody Brundage can survive that, first 5 minutes. I feel like the fight should sway in his favor. If this gets past 8 minutes, I feel like Cody Brundage is going to win the fight. I'd be shocked if this goes all 15 minutes, but who knows? Maybe sometimes it does, man. We saw Dustin Poirier and who was it? I think Michael Chandler. One of those guys, like one of those 155ers where they got matched up and everyone thought it was going to be a train wreck and ended up going to decision. I think Gaethje and Fiziev went to decision. So yeah, man. So give me Abdul to win via knockout in round 1. I'm staying away though. Both those guys super unreliable. And up next we have a pretty good fight, man. A really good matchup here. We have a featherweight fight between Juicy J, Julian Erosa, best nickname in the UFC, and Christian C. Rod Rodriguez. Erosa comes in super veteran, 29-12 record, coming in at plus 180. While Christian Rodriguez, somewhat of a prospect, comes in with an 11-1 record, currently minus 220. This line has moved a little bit. I saw Christian Rodriguez around minus 200, so a little bit of money coming in now on him. And I get it, man. But one thing I will say, man, like he is small. Christian Rodriguez is small for featherweight. He should be a 135er, a bantamweight. But he has really trouble, like a really hard time missing weight, which is actually kind of crazy because if you follow him on Instagram, he's like doing 13-mile runs, 50-mile runs, and he's really working on his cardio. So I'm like, damn, how's this guy not making weight? He just must be a really big guy. And Christian's coming off a fight where he busted everyone's parlay, right? I had Bulgarian, and I was, a little bit upset. I lost that because Christian Rodriguez comes out, gets 10-8'd, dominated in that first round. But the other guy, Bulgarian, dominated too much and absolutely death gas, dumped, huge adrenaline dump. And Rodriguez was able to win that second and third round. That second round being the controversial round where he got held for about 4 minutes. But it's just one of those things, guys, where I get asked all the time, like by my friends, they'll be texting me, like, oh, I have this guy, like, who won that round? Like, they don't really watch UFC like that. And they always ask me, like, how do you score that round, right? And I always tell them the number one thing, the most important thing is damage, right? So, like, if you hold the guy for 4 minutes, but you don't do anything, and they let him up, and then you get punched at the end of the round, like, hey, guess what? The other guy just won the round because you got hurt at the end of the round, and you didn't do much with your control time. But I will say, when it's that significant, when it's that much of a round, I was kind of surprised to see the judges favor C-Rod in that round. But hey, man, that's what happens when you're just holding on for dear life, like a Bulgarian was. But yeah, Christian Rodriguez, very good grappler. He wants to grapple. He wants to shoot a takedown on you, and from there, you're in his world, man. He's legit on the mat. Like, I can't stress that enough. Striking's okay. It's not bad or anything. Striking defense is decent. Speed's decent. But he's fighting a guy that has a very significant size advantage here, man. Julian Erosa is 6'1", man. Christian Rodriguez is 5'7". We're talking about, close to 5 inches of height difference here and a 3-inch disadvantage here in reach going towards Erosa. Erosa's going to be a taller, long guy, which is pretty much common in his fights. Like, again, no matter who he fights, but the fact that C-Rod is small in general, and he's fighting a guy that's relatively big, that does make me a little bit worried here. Like, how is he in close distance? Because I know for a fact Erosa is going to be throwing those knees. He's going to be feinting those knees up the middle to keep Christian from diving in, and he's going to be throwing that front kick out to keep from Christian, from diving in on his legs. But I will say, as the fight goes, Julian has a really bad habit of lowering his hands. Like, and I get it, man. You get tired. Like, it's just hard to keep your hands up, but have a high guard the whole time. But he seems to be reacting really bad to punches. He's getting up there in age. 34 years old at featherweight, and he's taking a ton of damage in his career, man. Like, he is a dog. I will don't get me wrong, like, no disrespect. He'll go through a war to win you your money for sure. But he is quite hittable. Like I said, the hands come down as the fight gets extended. If he gets taken down in the mall in that first round, I really doubt that he's going to be looking at the same fighter in that second round. But who knows? Maybe the elevation affects C-Rod as well. Kind of a weird fight where I really expect C-Rod to utilize that grappling, and I'm kind of worried that the elevation is going to zap him of his energy. And if he's not there in that second and third round, Erosa, in theory, should be able to hit him quite easily because he's so tall and long. I'm going with the young guy. Give me Rodriguez. Give me Rodriguez via submission round 2. Man, he's got to be careful because another thing I haven't said yet, Juicy J has really good front choke. So, like, if you dive in, he's trying to snatch up that head. Like, he's trying to snatch up your head from just being lazy and sticking it out there. He's going to go for a Darce. He might jump guillotine. And so don't be shocked if he doesn't even try to defend. He just goes for the choke. That wouldn't shock me at all. So give me Rodriguez to just be relentless, push the pace, get in on the hips of Erosa, and take him down, and then submit him in that second round. Oof, man, and up next, we have a wide line. We have a welterweight fight between Gabriel Bonfim and Ange Loosa. Bonfim comes in with a 15-1 record, currently minus 380. Ange Loosa comes in with a 10-3 record, currently plus 280. A pretty wide line, guys. I think he's the biggest favorite on the entire card is Bonfim. And so, yeah, let's start with Bonfim, the Brazilian on your left side of your screen here. 15-1, coming off his first ever professional loss, where he got finished by Dalby in a fight where, I mean, I didn't see it coming, man. That fight was in Brazil, one of those setup type cards where they're trying to get all the Brazilian guys some favorable matchups. But Dalby's a dog, man. We just saw him against Renat Fakhretdinov, and I mean, he's a junkyard dog. And guess what? When he didn't get put out by Gabriel Bonfim early in that fight, Bonfim was his gas tank dumped, his adrenaline, dumped, and he got worked, man. He got finished in that second round, and it's just one of those things where he just works all of his opponents, right? So he's just walking through all these guys. I mean, he's a grappler, very good jiu-jitsu, but his striking isn't bad. Like, I mean, it's serviceable for sure, but he's a really good grappler. Once he gets you down, man, that's his role. He's going to be able to pass you very fast on the mat, very strong hips, and Ange Loosa is kind of like a yoked out dude. Like, right hand on your screen right here. Well, let's start with him now. He's coming off a fight where he got eye poked, right? And then he said he couldn't continue. And I actually had the guy that eye poked him. I had Brian Battle. And Brian Battle was winning that fight. And it was starting to go pretty downhill. It was like a snowball going down a hill. It was getting bigger and bigger. Like, the momentum was shifting big time here in the favor of Ange Loosa's opponent, Brian Battle. And like I said, I had money on him. And when he got eye poked and said he couldn't see, he couldn't go no more. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, guys, I'm not a fighter. I'm not in there. Like, I'm not risking my life, trying to win a paycheck. But it was sus, man. I'll say it. Like, I got a bunch of texts from my friends. Like, dude, what the hell? Like, what is this? But the worst part, guys, was after, he says he can't fight, gets called off. Obviously, Brian Battle is pissed because he had this crazy training camp, put on all this work, was looking good, like feeling himself, styling, looking really good. And then they say he can't, or no more fight, no contest, he doesn't get his win bonus, and he's pissed, right? And then so they do the thing where they put both fighters side by side. The judge comes in, or whoever announces the card, and this is a no contest, whatever. They do both hands. And then the worst part about it is Ange Loosa starts like chirping. He's like, no, I'm gonna kill you, like, let's fight right now. And then they start he starts like fight Brian Battle. I was like, dude, 2 minutes ago you said you couldn't see, couldn't fight. Like, what are we doing here? That was a really bad look. But as far as skill set, right? He's a decent grappler, decent striker. I would say I like his grappling more than his striking because he's just like he sits low and like he just throws wide, and he's short. He's like short and stocky, which is like a weird frame for welterweight. So, man, does Bonfim get this guy down and does he choke him out? Is what you're asking, because we just saw him drop the ball as a huge favorite, right? Bonfim as an undefeated prospect in his last fight. Now he's coming in as a huge favorite again at elevation, where if he doesn't finish the guy in the first round again, like how do we look in that second and third round? So it's a very big red flag for my opinion. Man, I'm going with Bonfim. I'm not parlaying Bonfim. I'm not laying him straight. Man, maybe inside the distance prop, but I feel like that's just still going to be juiced, so I don't want to lay juice on that because, man, it's tough. I gotta stay away. I'm staying away from this fight. You can probably tell I'm not super confident in Bonfim because, man, he dropped the ball last fight. He's at elevation now. What happens if Ange Loosa doesn't get submitted early in this fight? I'm staying away. Give me Bonfim to win that fight via, I gotta go first round submission. I don't really see how he does it, other than that. Maybe second round. But yeah, give me Bonfim submission. Man, this one's a banger. We have a short notice fight for one of these fighters. We have a lightweight fight between Drew Dober and Gene Silva. Dober comes in with a 27-13 record, currently minus 110 on the money line, while Gene Silva comes in with a 13-2 record, currently minus 110 on the money line as well. We have a pick'em in this fight. So I'm gonna start with Gene Silva, man. The talk of the town, man. This guy's a total badass. So he actually fought not last week because there was a week off from the UFC, but the week before he was on the last UFC card. He was on UFC 304 or 303, And he got a knockout win over Charles Jourdain, and that was a very good performance, very good win, a very good knockout, man. I picked against him. I picked Charles Jourdain, and man, he slept him bad. Crazy power from this guy. Gene Silva was a little demon. Like, this guy can crack. 100% respect this guy's power. Like, you gotta be on your toes when you're fighting this guy. You cannot get clipped by this guy, or he's gonna put you out. But I will say, man, he missed weight, so I hate that. I hate that he missed weight and then got a knockout finish. Just like, come on, bro. Like, you gotta be able to cut that weight. Like, that's cheating. And then, he's like a week off, and then now he's flying to Denver, going up a weight class here, cutting weight again. Like, I get it. Like, it's not that big of a weight cut, right? Because he's normally a 145er, now he's fighting at 155. We obviously don't have to cut that extra 10 pounds, but it's not, guys, when you cut weight to 145, it's not like he just goes back up to 155 and stops. I'm sure he's around minus 160, 165. I'm sure he put on some weight after that weight cut and that performance. He got that knockout win, and I'm sure he celebrated a little bit, right? So, regardless of how hard the cut will be, he will have to cut some weight. Like, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever it is, 2 pounds. I mean, he's cutting weight. Like, his brain's going through this. Like, he's going to dehydrate himself. He's going to cut weight to make this weight, to make this fight, to get another paycheck, right? A quick turnaround. But damn, it's at Denver. It's in Denver at elevation. It's a tough task when you're fighting a guy named Drew Dober, who's a stud, man. Drew Dober, I believe, was either first or second for most lightweight knockouts in the UFC's history. This guy can crack. And for as much as everyone wants to question his durability, it seems to be getting a little bit, suspect here later on in his career. The longest time, this guy has been like notorious for having good durability, man. Like, this guy can take everyone's best punch. This dude has a legit giant chin, like it's like a granite chin, right? But he can strike, dude. Like, Drew Dober is a legit striker. He could be comfortable off his back foot. He could be going forward. Very crisp striking from Dober and a ton of power, man. This guy can put you out like nothing. It's kind of crazy. He absolutely slept Bobby Green. Up until then, no one was finishing Bobby Green. And he just put him out bad, man. He slept him bad. And it comes out of the grappling. Like, fight for fight on the feet here, I'm giving it to Dober all day. He's getting up there in age, though. He's 35 years old at lightweight, and that is worrisome, especially with that chin. He's coming off a loss against Moncano, where it was 1-1 going into round 3, and he kind of gave up position off his back, and that's what lost him the fight. But I thought he was looking, well for himself. Moncano's a good fighter. He's going to be on that Paris card against Bonat Saint Denis, getting a top 10 opponent. So, Dober's still fighting the top level guys, man. He's fought the who's who of the division, a way higher level of competition here from Dober than Gene Silva. And like I said, it just comes down to grappling. Can Silva take down Dober? Because we've seen Dober look vulnerable on the mat, man. He doesn't have the best defensive wrestling, doesn't have the best defensive grappling get-ups. Can Gene Silva mix in the takedowns here? I do wonder that. He's a smaller guy here in this fight. Younger guy in this fight as well. But like I said, he fought 2 weeks ago, going up in elevation. Give me Drew Dober, the more proven guy. I wish I could get plus money on him. I'm hoping more money comes in on Silva. And it'd be so funny if Silva misses weight here. So give me Drew Dober, rooting for the hometown guy. It's nothing. He trains at elevation. Drew Dober trains at elevation. I do not suspect him to, gas dump or do anything like that. If he looks fresh, if we even get to that third round, if he's still the fresher fighter, man, he's going to win that third round at a high clip, in my opinion, if he's not just beat up by then. So give me Dober to win that fight. I'm going to go with a round 2 knockout. If not, decision. Give me Drew Dober to win that fight. And now we have the co-main event, guys. We have a welterweight fight between Santiago Ponzinibbio and Muslim Salikhov. Ponzinibbio comes in with a 30-7 record, currently minus 200. He's fighting Muslim Salikhov, who comes with a 19-5 record, currently plus 170. I have no idea how this is the co-main event. Who paid the UFC? Who's paying you? Like Blue Miles says, who's paying you, bro? Like, how did this happen? How did we? There's so many good fights on this card. How did they decide this one is the co-main event? So, not going to go too far into this one. I'm picking Ponzinibbio, but holy crap, minus 200? Absolutely not. I am absolutely not. I'm not paying, 2-1 odds on Santiago Ponzinibbio to win this fight, but I do think he's going to win this fight. So, for one, he's not 40 years old, but he is almost 38 years old, so that's a red flag, right? It's going to be a striking fight. I do not expect either guy here to utilize grappling. I would be shocked if Santiago tries to out-grapple Muslim, but I would also be equally as surprised if Muslim tries to shoot for the takedowns, which we have seen him do, and we have seen him grapple, but the result of that is that he seems to get tired really fast from that. Muslim Salikhov, 40 years old, coming off getting knocked out by Randy Brown. So we have a guy that's 40 years old, coming off a knockout loss at elevation, who seems to get tired when he tries to grapple, so it leads me to believe that he's going to be wanting to strike with Santiago Ponzinibbio. Santiago Ponzinibbio is coming up a fight where he lost to a dude that had one working hand. Kevin Holland knocked him out, and his right hand was broken. Or it might have been his left, I'm not sure, but how do you get knocked out by a guy that had one arm? Like, that's crazy. And before that, he beat Morono in a fight that he was losing. Alex Morono lost the first 2 rounds, ended up knocking him out in that third round, saved me in my bet that night, and I was super happy, but holy crap, that is not a good look. And that's one thing I like to fall back on, guys. Like, when you bet these fighters, like that memory sticks with you, right? So whether it be a fight you won or a fight you lost, like you remember how you felt during that fight. Like you're like, oh man, I made a good bet. Oh man, I made a bad one. When I bet on Ponzinibbio to beat Morono, I made a horrible bet, but I got lucky and I won that fight because he won via knockout in that third round. So I know he has pretty good striking. I do like the striking from Santiago, but one thing that Muslim does that, I mean, who knows? It could work in his favor in this fight or not. Like he throws a lot of spinning stuff, man. A lot of spinning back kicks, a lot of spinning kicks to the body. Which, like I said, like it could work for him. It could catch Santiago Ponzinibbio off guard and get clipped if you don't see it coming, or it could just gas you out and make you even tired quicker in Muslim. So it's just a iffy fight, man. Both guys not reliable. Minus 200, definitely not minus 200 reliable for Ponzinibbio. Give me Ponzinibbio to win that fight via decision or a knockout. Can't pick what round, maybe round 3 or 2. I'm going with Santiago here. It's just, I mean, I think Muslim's gonna lose and then retire. So yeah. And now it's time for the main event, guys. This one's going to be a good one. We have a women's flyweight fight between Rose Namjunas and Tracy Cortez. Namjunas comes in with a 13-6 record, currently minus 225 on the money line, while Tracy Cortez comes in with an 11-1 record, currently plus 185. So short notice here for Tracy Cortez, but in her defense, she was supposed to fight next week against Miranda Maverick. So yeah, technically it is a short notice fight, but she was in camp. She was only 1 week off from peaking. So I mean, she was dialed in, right? So like it wasn't like, holy crap, like I'm chubby, I'm off the couch, I have no cardio, I need to get into camp and start getting in shape. Like it's not that. Like she was in shape. She was gonna fight a girl that can grapple in Miranda Maverick. So when you're fighting a wrestler, I'm sure you have your cardio in check. But now she's fighting a way better fighter, a way different type of matchup here in Rose Namjunas. Rose Namjunas, on the other hand, was supposed to fight Macy Barber, who I would have picked against Rose. I would have picked Macy in that fight. But now she has a little bit of an easier opponent, in my opinion, in Tracy Cortez, because on the feet, I don't see the threat from Tracy as like as significant as someone like Macy Barber. The grappling of Tracy, though, is what worries me in this fight. We saw Rose against Carla Esparza and Loki Amanda Ribas get like froze at times, right? Like she'll freeze and the fight becomes super boring. They're throwing at distance, out of range, and she's definitely worried about the takedown, right? And one thing I definitely don't like about Rose is that she seems to be like a mental midget, right? Like if she wakes up that day and she's like in a bad mood, has doubts or whatever, I mean, like it's gonna affect the fight. Like it's absolutely crazy how like much of a mental like head case she is, right? Whereas Tracy, I mean, you can probably say the same thing for her, but like I don't get that. I don't get that same vibe from her. She's gonna go forward. She's like talking about how big of an opportunity this is for her. And it is short notice, but I mean, I think this fight goes all 5 rounds. I think it goes 5 rounds. I don't think either girl gets finished here. I think Rose wins a decision in this fight based off the point fighting. I feel like she's going to be able to throw enough volume here to keep Tracy off her. I expect a lot of clinching here from Tracy, and it's just not going to look good for the judges, in my opinion. I think that Rose is going to be able to separate if she doesn't get taken down, and then from there, look good on the feet. So, man, Tracy should be the more natural, bigger girl in this fight. I'm going with the girl with more experience. This would definitely be the best fighter or best win that Tracy's ever had so far in the UFC. It's actually kind of crazy. She's 11-1 and hasn't lost since her first MMA fight. So she's technically won 11 fights in a row. I think 5 in the UFC. But man, I'm leaning Rose in this fight. I'm leaning Rose via decision. I don't think that she's gonna finish Tracy late in this fight. Yeah, I just think that she's a better fighter, better striker here, and good enough defensive grappling to take, to withstand Tracy's offensive grappling. So give me Rose to win via decision. Yeah, and that's it. So thanks so much for watching the video, guys, this week. A little bit longer, but we had a week off, so it's always good to have a week off. You can really dive into tape, really get into some study. But let me know what you think about the comments, or let me know what you think about my picks in the comments. I know I went on a limb on some of these fights, so yeah, man, good luck on your bets, good luck on your picks, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.